What we're going to do this afternoon is we're going to do what's called the revision lecture. Now, the revision lecture is the lecture that we do so it gives us a strong indication of what areas we need to study in order to do the exam. Okay? Now, there are a few things you've always got to remember when you do exams anyway, regardless, for all your exams. The first thing is you must, I repeat, must get previous exam papers. Even though this year the format has changed, the style and the way questions are asked will remain. At your level, being a third year, the things you will expect to see in exams are words like compare, contrast, explain, and analyse. You won't see too many describes or lists. Do you understand? Because at your level, being third years, you will need to be able to apply the knowledge you've learned, not just repeat it. When we looked at the assignments, the difference between those that got an A and those that got a B was the people that applied the work, not just listed it, but applied what was there. And the same thing happens with the exam. The second thing that you need to do is you need to practice answering questions. Right? This is very important because none of you have written an exam question this year. Every assignment you've been given, every piece of work you've been given, you've been supported by a computer. You've been able to edit it. You've been able to re-edit it. So you don't know about timings. So there's no point in doing an exam and finishing an hour early. And there's no point in doing an exam and not leaving yourself enough time. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So that brings me on to another thing. A criminal offence. This is like hanging offence. Not answering a question. That is a hanging offence in the exam world. Not answering a question. The moment you don't answer a question, it cuts you out of the marking. Lecturers want to give marks. We want you to pass. Yeah? I've never marked a paper and thought, I want this person to fail. But if you haven't written anything, I can't do anything. If you've written something, I can delude myself that perhaps you were trying to say something else. Do you understand my point? Yep. If you don't answer a question, you kill yourself. And with this new format, you particularly kill yourself. So in all of your exams, it's imperative you answer all the questions. The only way you can guarantee that is to practice writing questions. The only way you can guarantee that is to go and look at previous exam papers. Do I make myself clear? Mm-hmm. Yeah? It's very, very important. Yeah? It's very important. So this is really where we're at. Now, getting on to this particular exam. Now, this particular exam looks like the other third year exams that you're going to have this year. That means it's in two parts. The first part is 4 compulsory questions, each worth 10 marks. 4 compulsory questions, each worth 10 marks. The second part, part B, is normally 3 questions of which you have to answer 2. 3 questions, you have to answer 2. So each question is worth how many marks? In part B. Oh, 25. You're going to fail. Part A, how much is part A worth?
20.
No.
No, I'm
part
saying
A
the second part
is worth 40. Agreed? We've got
20
3
marks.
questions in part B. You've got to answer 2 of them.
20 marks.
George, help me. Thank you, George.
30.
You are a genius.
Yeah.
Top of the class.
He's already got
Right?
a mark right there.
Top of the class. He's identified that each of the questions in part B is worth 30 marks. Please, this is a starting point. Right? this is a starting point. Now, the second thing is, because there were 30 marks, what you will see is that they will be broken down into parts. So it won't just be one 30 marks, have a go. Part B of our exam is normally scenario based. So by that I mean it's very similar to your assignment. There will be a story or a scenario that you will be told about. Yeah? And then you will be asked to use the scenario as the basis for providing a solution. Yeah? An electronic commerce or m-commerce solution. What we always like to see in exams is examples. Examples are fantastic. If you give an example, I know you know what you're talking about. Yeah? So examples are very useful, especially when you're doing scenarios. Especially when you're doing scenarios. Okay, so now let's talk about the actual subjects that we're interested in. Now I made a few notes. The first subject is really very simple. When we looked at chapter 1 of the lecture, okay, we looked at the whole idea of the origins of electronic commerce, the stages of electronic commerce, and how electronic commerce varied from traditional commerce. Agreed? Mm-hmm. So, the first thing that I want you to make sure you've done in great detail is chapter 1. In particular, things like this. What happened in the first 30 years? What is e-commerce? What's the difference between e-commerce and e-business? You need to know this stuff, right? You need to know those unique features. These are really important. Remember, this framework is very, very interesting when we kind of maybe devise something. So if we were going to put a proposal together for our final year project, and someone said, write a proposal to tell us what you're going to do in your final year project, you could say, right, okay, this is what it does, this is the ubiquity of it, this is how it sits in the world, this is how it doesn't pipe up, this is what's there. We can talk about how it works, where it goes to, what's its reach. We can talk about how it works in terms of standards. We can look at the information it provides and the richness of that information, couldn't we? So this framework here for e-commerce technology is very useful. And it's the kind of framework that would be very nice to ask people about. Okay. What we also want to do is we want to know about the different types of electronic commerce. We want to know about the internet, the web, and mobile platforms. History not so much, but is useful, and then predictions for the future. Okay? So that's the first thing we need to look at. Very important. The second thing that we need to know is something that not only we discussed on this course, but also you've discussed on other courses, which is electronic commerce infrastructure. Right? In particular, we're interested in what that infrastructure looks like
Open it. Go back to the browser, you just open it.
Go. So, what we want to try and do is we want to make sure that we understand things like packet switch networks, right? The idea of packet switching networks, the idea of client-server computing, and being able to compare and contrast different types of technology platforms. This is mainly the stuff you did when you were with Andy. So we want to know things like what's client-server computing and how does it compare with mainframe computing? Okay? And why was packet switching so important? Yeah? Why is it so important? Where was packet switching devised? Does anyone know? One for the reader. Packet switching was originally devised at the National Physical Laboratory in Tenerife. But you won't find that in the American text. But it was one of the pieces of work that we did over here towards the development of the internet. The idea of a packet switch network. Now, we want to be able to understand and explain how packets are created, how they're routed around the internet, and why they're important. So, why was packet switching represented in TCP, Transmission Call Protocol, and the Internet Networking Protocol? Why was packet switch networking so important? Can anyone tell me? Yes, sir.
To get like so the messages were transferred to the right places.
Well, the packet does have the description of where the messages are to go, but there's a reason why it was important to devise packet switching networks over, say, circuit networks, like a light network, you know. Yes?
Does this have to do with, so if there was one fault in the line, there were other ways of
Yes.
getting the...
Robustness of the network.
Yes.
The whole point was very simple. They wanted to devise a network which could operate even if nodes in the network failed. If it's a circuit and there's a break in the circuit, the whole signal goes down. Agreed?
Mm-hmm.
With the internet, that's not the case. What we do is we reroute the packets via other nodes. This is possible because a packet has a source, a destination, a content, etc. Agreed? And that web servers forward packets. Yeah? If they don't know where they're to go, they forward them to the next node that they know of. As long as they know of some other node somewhere else, that packet will eventually arrive at its destination. Agreed?
Mm-hmm.
You need to know this stuff, right? You need to know about the network layer, the internet layer, transport layer, and the application layer. You do need to know this stuff. Okay. That is a very nice drawing. The reason why it's a lovely drawing is it explains how packet switch networks work for those that are not sure. So if I was doing an exam and I was finding it very difficult to explain how packet switch networks work, and I could do that drawing, I would do that drawing. Okay. Client-server computing. Yeah? Where we have clients and we have a central server. Different configurations of client-server computing, okay, fostered in part now by the development of what we would call FAT clients or personal computers. Okay? Historically, we would also have dumb clients that would literally just be able to connect to the central machine. With a mainframe computer, the clients tend to be thin or dumb and they connect centrally to a central machine. With client-server computing, both the client and the server might have decent amounts of content. Okay? The client does things. Stores local files, might allow you to access printers, might run software. It might not. It all depends how fat the client is. Agreed? So here at Goldsmiths, would you say in the labs we run a client-server architecture? We do, don't we? Is all of the software served from the local machines, like software applications all served from the local machine? No. Some of it comes from the server, doesn't it? So if you were going to use, for example, Office, that would come from the server, wouldn't it? Yeah? Okay. So you've got the client, you have the server, and the server accesses the shared data files. Right? Cloud computing is a slightly different thing, and nowadays we talk about cloud computing as if it's some sort of new, unbelievable environment, but actually, if you're old school, you'll know that cloud computing is basically the way that we used to operate mainframe computing. It's a distributed mainframe computing. Yeah? So what happens is we have a very thin client, right, like a phone, a very thin client, and we access the resources on a server, okay, which might be distributed around the world. So from a user's point of view, it's very similar to accessing a mainframe. It's just we don't know where that mainframe is. It's not in one point. So cloud computing actually, as an architecture, isn't particularly that new, right? But the thing that makes it unique is the distributed nature of it, yeah? The ability to have this sort of, you know, infrastructure that's distributed around the web. One of the big risks with cloud computing is dependence on the provider. Now, I'll give you an example. When we were running Winkball, we used to have a whole team of reporters out all the time. There was like 100 reporters out interviewing people. And we used to schedule all their work on a piece of cloud software, right, called Shift Planner. And it would allow you to plan shifts for people. It would say, Juan is going to do a shift on Tuesday, George is going to do a shift on Thursday, Shift Planner. And everything worked fine until we wanted the data out of Shift Planner to do something else and leave Shift Planner. At which point they said, oh, sorry, you can't have the data. So all the information we put in, every piece of work we did, we couldn't get. Bullying us, right? Okay, so we couldn't get that data even though we could see it, even though we could use it. While we were paying them, we could do it. After that, we couldn't get hold of any of it. We'd become totally dependent on that outside provider. Okay, so we want to make sure that we know about different types of network architecture, and we want to know about the limitations of the internet. Yeah? So that's the second area we really need to know about. Now, the third, believe it or not, comes from chapter 3. Now, in chapter 3, when I can get it up, what we concentrate on is the whole idea of building an e-commerce presence, right? So, close this. Building an e-commerce presence, okay? And once again, we had like a framework for that, didn't we? So here we go. What's the vision? Why are we doing this? Right? What's the vision? What's the mission statement? Who's it for? Who's the target audience? Who's the marketplace? Where's the marketplace look like? What's the strategic analysis? What's the marketing matrix? What's the timeline? And what's the budget? And we need to know this stuff in order to propose a new e-commerce or m-commerce presence. If we don't know that stuff, we're out of the game anyway. Do we agree?
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So we need to know it. Great framework. Really useful. When we looked, we went through each of those in quite detail, didn't we? Yeah? Second thing that's really useful, obviously SWOT analysis, you all know. It's pretty straightforward. But what's really interesting is this. The systems development life cycle. You remember it?
Yep.
Okay. Once again, very loose framework, but very useful. I quite like it when you develop stuff with very small cycles. So what you do is you say, okay, for the next 2 weeks we're going to do this. That's what it's going to look like. Let's do it. Let's test it. Let's implement it. Then talk about the next 2 weeks. So you do a very tight or small cycle, and over and over and over and over again. You know, there are fashionable terms for this stuff like Scrum and all the rest. But fundamentally what I'm talking about is small, tight, rapid prototyping. Quick deliverables, try not to go off target too soon. That kind of thing. Very, very important. This is the kind of model I definitely would know for the exam. Very important, this model. It's an easy thing to ask people. It looks like that. Yeah?
We're not rapid yet, this one.
That's it. Okay? Now, of course, when we build stuff, there are different types of architecture. So, we can have a simple website, which is a 2-tier architecture, or a more complex website with the 3rd tier. Can everyone see the 3rd tier? With the databases.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? So if somebody was going to ask you, tell me the difference between a physical, two layer and a 3 layer, there's your answer. Yeah? Okay. So that's very useful. So, yeah? Simple 2-layer and a 3-layer model. That's a simple 2-layer, yeah? Little database web server. Agreed? Multi-layer. Lots and lots of different servers, lots and lots of different databases, lots and lots of different backends. Right? Okay, so we need to do that. Any questions on what we've talked about so far?
So you're covering 4 parts, right?
Yeah, I'm going through the 4, well, I'm covering lots of parts, but I'm talking about part A at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah? Talking about part A. I'm
The
talking about the
compulsory.
hard facts that we've got to do.
The compulsory one.
Compulsory.
Yep.
That's why everything I've been talking about today is very important from a compulsory point of view. Do we agree?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. The last thing that I would definitely know is about mobile technology. It's very, very important that we understand what's the difference between building a normal website and a mobile website, and what are the advantages of doing things like building a web app versus a native app. So if we know versus a native app, so we know why we might build a web app, why we might build a native app. It's very important. If you don't know where that stuff is, it's normally around here. Building a mobile presence, yeah? Kind of considerations, what kind of platforms, cost considerations, building a mobile presence, okay? All chapter 3. Yeah, native apps, more expensive, requires more programming, but what's the value of it? We know, yeah? Okay, so that's the first part of this whole thing. The second part is all about the actual scenario, okay? The kinds of things that are useful when you look at scenarios, okay, are to sit there and read them, underlining things we think are important, right? Now the question will have stuff in it, but the scenario will also have stuff in it. And the trick is to try and match the question with the scenario with real world examples. So you can think of it as a little bit of a golden triangle. The question, the scenario, real world examples. Is that clear?
Mm-hmm.
Right, what kind of things do we need to know about? Well, I love advertising. Advertising is incredibly important in electronic commerce, m-commerce. You've got to know about banner advertising, you've got to know about pop-up adverts, you've got to know about video adverts. Simple, yeah? Got to know about adverts because adverts pay the bills. Yeah? I don't think I saw a single assignment of yours that didn't say, we're going to earn all our money by adverts. I think the world's going to be full of adverts. I don't know. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ad blocker.
Another thing that people love, really important, virtual communities. So make sure you've got a good understanding of virtual communities. Make sure you've also got a really good understanding of how businesses might use things like forums, might use things like social media to gain information on people. Okay. We always need to know about people. don't we? How do we know about different types of customers? What's the activity that allows us to identify different types of customers, understand different types of customers,
Market segmentation.
profile different types of customers? What is that process called?
Market segmentation.
Yes, market segmentation. You said it without moving your lips. Well done. What kinds of ways can we segment the market, madam?
Use a table, split it by behaviour.
Demographics, behaviour,
Psychographic.
yeah, psychographics, right?
Behavior.
How they behave, what they do, very important. We want to know about customers. We want to be able to talk about the way that customers, for example, are customers that we can see to be, led by products. We want to be able to understand things like marketing strategies that are based upon customers. Yeah, we want to be able to understand different ways of proposing product-based and marketing-based strategies. Yeah? Okay. So if we know the people and we understand that, then we can sort of maybe say, okay, right, for example, we're going to split the world up into people that want stuff really quickly and people that want to browse. Yeah? They're the two types of behaviours. So our product-based strategy is to create a load of products that you don't have to make decisions about. Yeah? And our market-based strategy might be very different from that. Yeah? If you've got a product-based marketing strategy, can anyone think of a business whose website overtly is a product-based marketing strategy website?
BMW.
No. Somebody like Screwfix. Yeah? Go on there. They don't care what the customer's like. Here's the screws. Here's the nails. Here's the hammers. They're just interested in their products. Yeah? BMW are interested in... What are they interested in? Are they a product-based or a customer-based marketing strategy? What? It's in the middle, isn't it? It's in the middle. They don't really say, are you one of these? Yeah?
They say, take one of these,
Yeah.
we'll help you with this as well.
Yeah, take one of these. We'll help you with this. If you want one of these, you might look like this. Yeah? So it's in the middle somewhere. What about Argos?
Well, they split their website up into sort of like, stuff for boys, stuff for girls. They've got that sort of stuff as well. But at the same time, again, you can just search by
Products as well, yeah?
So I guess
So you can
that's-
go in at both ends. There's a children's section, there's an adult section, but then there's also like knives, forks, cassette players, whatever. Agreed? So it's a bit of both. Okay. We need to know about digital products and about stickiness. Right? A lot of you did not get that right in your assignment. There is a great difference between an FAQ and a sticky feature. Sticky features are difficult. They are things that get people to come back and come back and come back and come back. So, if somebody said, James, what's the sticky feature you use in your lectures that makes people come back? You know what I'd answer? I never read the slides. So if you've just got the slides, you've missed the lecture. And do that on purpose. There are some lecturers that read the slides, aren't there?
Yeah.
And then you don't have to come, because you can read. Well,
Someone
most
else.
of you can read. I'm not sure about my friend here. But all the rest of us. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I overtly, on purpose, do things like show you videos and talk about stuff that ain't in the slides, that ain't in the book. If I can't tell you stuff that ain't in the book, there's no point in me being here. Because I can give you the book and go home. Do we not agree?
Yes.
That's a sticky feature. What sticky features are on the Goldsmiths website? None. What sticky features are on our department's website? There's one sticky feature on our department website that keeps us coming back.
Results.
Yes, the intranet. Yeah? The intranet has results, and that's where we go to. Even the comments that I've given you back on your assignments, they're all going to go up on the intranet, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Agreed? By the way, quick question. Is that enough feedback on your little essay, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Is that enough? Okay.
What's it called? You know the sticky features, yeah?
What?
Sticky features.
features. Yes,
Yeah,
I am
so what-
familiar with them.
What I'm saying is, you said how many you got correct, right?
Yeah.
Well, which ones?
Ah, well, that's the thing for you to go and find out. If you want, I can identify them for you. But what might be easier is if I tell you what a sticky feature is, then you should be able to find out which ones from your list. A sticky feature is a feature that we include in a website or an app or somewhere else that gets you to come back. Gets you to reuse it and reuse it and reuse it. I went away this weekend, right? And where I was away, all of these people, it was a sort of first birthday party for this little girl. All the people there kept using a thing called, I think it's called, is it Championship Manager or Fantasy Football?
Fantasy football.
Football. What's the one where they have you have your own players?
Fantasy football.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So these people are insane, right? They're at this kid's christening and they're all on the phone checking who scored a goal in, so that they can say, my team's above your team, which is above. This is unbelievably sticky features, right? Because every Saturday, everyone's back on it like it's some form of narcotic. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Who does it? Do you do it?
He's top of the.
And do
top
you
of the
check
league.
it?
He's top of the league. This guy.
Wow. Out of who? You
Oh,
and all
of
your
us.
friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're top of the league? Nice. But you ain't got no West Ham players.
But Jamie won.
Hi.
What? Payet?
Yeah.
But now he's ill.
He's ill now.
Yeah, but you understand what I'm saying, right? It's a sticky feature, isn't it? Imagine if that had been embedded in the BBC's website. Imagine if Championship Manager had been embedded in Sky's website.
I think the Sun did it, actually. I think the Sun has got their own
Version, yeah, but they've come in late, right?
Yeah.
Sky have it as well.
One, they've come in late,
Mhm.
yeah, but
So they
imagine when
established-
they've done it in the beginning.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant, brilliant way of getting people to come back every week, isn't it? When the AA, you know the AA, right? Car AA people, right? Somebody down there one day went, do you know what? I've got an app here, it's a route finder, right? And this is before people had GPSs on their phones. So it's before people had TomTom on their phone, they had Google Maps. They just went, it's, what you do is you put in a postcode and it'll tell you how to get there. They're like, what? I said, yeah. You know what? It was the stickiest feature you could, they could ever dream of. Every time somebody wanted to go somewhere, they went to their website, they put their postcode in, they got a printout of how to get there. It was perfect. It's a pure, you know what I mean? It's a pure sticky feature. The interesting thing is, you still can't get that on TomTom easily. It's on there, but you can't get it easily. And the great thing with the AA one was you could print it. So you could give it to the person sitting next to you and they can go, yeah, we're coming off here. Fantastic. That's a sticky feature. Fantasy football on your website, that's a sticky feature. If William Hill had got their nut round that, do you know what I mean? They're in the game. Yeah? An FAQ isn't a sticky feature. An easy to use website isn't a sticky feature. That's normal. If your website's not easy to use, then you've got a problem. Yeah? It's a bit like saying, oh, I want one of those because it's clean. If it ain't clean, we ain't buying it anyway. Do we agree? Very, very important. Okay. Moving swiftly on. We need to know about money. I don't know how many times I've talked to you about revenue models. A lot. Agreed? And what's the rule about a revenue model? What do you reckon the underlying rule is?
Can't just rely on it.
They change. Yeah? There's very few businesses that stick with the same revenue model. Right, so, how does Sky make its money? What's its revenue model look like? Subscriptions. Agreed. Anything else?
Dynamo.
What else? Does subscriptions. It does ads. It sells content. It resells content. These are all part of its revenue model. Agreed? All part of its revenue model. We've got to make sure we understand about revenue models. You know, we need to know, for example, how would the different types of revenue model work for different types of business. So, for example, if I was running Goldsmiths, right? So I'm running Goldsmiths, and I'm thinking, we need to make some money. We need to change our revenue model. Yeah? What could Goldsmiths do to make more money? What kinds of things could it do? Could it get into the advertising business? Could it take advertising?
Not really.
Why not?
Oh, yeah, the advertise around the campus.
Could do, couldn't we?
Yeah.
We might get a bit of grief from the Students' Union, but we can deal with that. Give them a few quid, they'll most probably shut up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, that's why we're not. There might be some complaints, right? So we can't advertise. What else could we do? Could we?
Sell licensed merchandise and stuff.
We could sell licensed merchandise,
So
couldn't we?
lectures.
What?
Lectures.
We could sell lectures. You could sell James, right? You could sort of package him up into 18 different easy chunks and sell them around the world.
You can do like open university style, you can start recording lectures and then...
Open university, couldn't we? Yeah, we could do open university. That would happen. What else? What other kind of revenue?
You could charge a ridiculous fee of £9,000 a year.
We'd charge a ridiculous fee of £9,000 a year, which in most cases I would agree with you is ridiculous. But in my particular case, I think you most probably get it quite cheap. Considering. No, I think it is ridiculous to charge you that. I wouldn't charge you that. I just take it out of your taxes forever. And I take it out of mine as well, because I got mine for free. And I think it's wrong. People like me are walking the streets, got all their education for free. Come and take mine. Come and take a little bit anyway. But, you know, in the absence of being able to get a hold of any of my dough, you're paying £9,000. How are we going to make any money? How's Goldsmiths going to change its revenue model? At the moment, its revenue model is fees. How else might it be able to get revenue in?
Rent out facilities.
Excellent. We might become a conference centre, mightn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Rent out facilities. That could work, couldn't it? Goldsmiths Conference Centre. Yeah. We might become a cinema. Yeah.
We've got cinema license.
Cinema license could do that, couldn't we? Yeah. Agreed? Just looking at different models. Okay. What about if I was the BBC? Now, BBC is skint. They're always complaining they're skint. If I said to you that the BBC said, right, okay, we need to look at new forms of revenue, what could the BBC do?
They could scrap their TV license and then go on like a subscription service like everyone else.
Yeah. So they could do a subscription service and stop harassing single mothers in tower blocks to buy TV licenses that they don't want.
Online.
What else could they do?
Ads now.
They could have ads, yeah? They could say, do you know what? We're fed up. We're going to take ads. Keep your licence fee money. We're going to take ads. If we wrap ads around the 9 o'clock news, we're going to earn a few quid. Yeah? The 9 o'clock news brought to you by Adidas. Yeah, it's potentially, you know, especially if it's online. Yeah? We're talking BBC Three now. I bet BBC Three is going to make more money than any part of the BBC in about 5 years. It's going to be wrapped in ads, isn't it? In an online world. Okay, what else could they do? They could sell the back catalogue, couldn't they? They could sell the forward catalogue. What do you mean by that? What's the forward catalogue? Well, when they make a series, they finish it, don't they? And people could pay money to see the next one before it's out properly. So you sit down, you watch episode 1 and they say, listen man, if you want to pay a few quid, you can get into some binge viewing. Yeah? It's like crack, isn't it?
Some people already do that. I think on the internet, like YouTube stars pay for, you can pay and see their stuff. Like,
See the next one,
weekly.
yeah. Do you see what I'm saying? BBC, binge BBCing. That could work, couldn't it?
BBC and chill.
What? BBC?
And chill. Do you know that phrase, Netflix and chill?
Netflix and chill. Well, BBC and chill. Yeah, just sit there and just hammer it.
That won't work, bro.
Do you see what I mean? She's not going to come round. She's just not. I don't know where Downton Abbey's on, but I think it's on the BBC, isn't it? It's not going to work. But do you see what I'm saying? What else could they do? I like the advertising. I like the binge watching. What else could we do?
For each series, isn't it? Charged differently. Like Match of
Well,
Day.
the weird thing is with the BBC is they've got this whole network that they broadcast, but they don't use it for anything else.
Mm.
So why aren't the BBC selling their news to other news networks? So why don't they package up their news and sell it to America? Why don't they package up their news in Delhi and sell it in London? Why don't they resell their content? Do we not agree? Resell their content. So these are all different ways of looking at revenue models. Important for you to understand revenue models. Okay. Now, other things that would be useful. Yeah, I've talked about revenue models and marketing and advertising. I'm just going to go to marketing and advertising. Okay. Now, do you remember we did this thing on consumer behaviour? Yeah?
Mhm.
Do you remember there was this model and I went through it? Yeah, the decision-making process? Very, very useful. In particular, this idea of the 5 stages of the customer decision process. How we make decisions. Do you remember when I said that? And I said about my illness? And my illness means that when I get a feeling, I buy stuff. Agreed? I've been really good with Apple at the moment. I'm practically cured of my Steve Jobs addiction. I'm like practically cured. I'm not completely cured, obviously,
When
and
is
I'm
Black
preparing
Friday?
to have a relapse at Christmas. But up until then, I've been clean. I've been going every day, getting up early in the morning, aware of my need. I even sometimes search for some information. I evaluate alternatives. I make the purchase. And then I think about my relationship with the firm afterwards. Out of all of those things there, which one do you reckon that Apple does the most work on? Out of all of those 5 stages. Come on, sir. Good looking bloke like you on a Tuesday night, is it? Yeah, come on.
Awareness of need.
Awareness of need. They do a fair amount on awareness of need, but they struggle a bit. Because they've flogged the same thing for about the last 5 years, haven't they? They've just gone, it's a bit thinner, it's a bit shinier. Now when you take a picture, it's not really a picture, it's a little bit of a picture with another 3 pictures, so it looks like a picture that moves. You know, they're struggling a little bit, aren't they?
The last one.
It's more colour, it's less colour, it's squarer, it's thinner. Which one?
The last 2. Especially
Yeah, man. The post-purchase contact with a firm. And I tell you what, that is where they're going to ruin their name. That is where they're going to ruin their name. Because people go to Apple because... remember what I said? Why do people buy stuff? Why do people want stuff? Love. You remember? They
Yeah.
want to be loved. They think if I buy this, I'm going to be loved.
Can you
If
put
you
that-
go to the Apple store and they don't give you love, you think, I ain't buying that stuff again. Because they never even loved me after I spent £2,000 on it. They start sticking me in queues and telling me to come back in 3 days to get my phone fixed. And you're going, don't you know that this is my crack? If I don't have this phone fixed, I'm not going to be able to sleep. And they go, yeah, well, come back next Tuesday. You do that too often to people, and people are going to go elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Do we agree? So if I was Steve Jobs from the grave, I would be kicking them and saying, what are you doing post-purchase with these customers? What is this? Come back next week. Do you see what I'm saying? You only do that to someone twice, right? And they go, do you know what? I'm going to go and buy the cheaper one. Start listening to their nephew who says, don't even know why you're buying it. Why don't you go and get an Android? It does this, it does that, it does this, and it's only half the price. You go, well, you know what? I might as well do. They didn't even give me any love last time I was in there. Important, isn't it? After sales service. Very, very important. So I want you to make sure you've had a look at that. Okay. The last thing is multi-channel marketing. Knowing all the different channels that stuff can go out on. Yeah? So we talked about this, right? And in particular when we talk about the marketing plan. Right? So, that's all you're going to need to know.
That's for part B, yeah.
What?
That's for part B, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah? Obviously, I'm not going to do anything from chapters I haven't covered. So last week was the last chapter. There's not going to be anything from then on, obviously. I'm not insane. Okay? Any questions on what we've gone through today?
What we're going to be doing tomorrow and next week?
Tomorrow,
Yeah.
we have a lab
Mm-hmm.
where we're going to do project work.
Okay.
Yeah, and assignment work. Yeah, you've got an assignment, haven't you? Yeah, so we're all going to come together and we're going to do some assignment work. Okay? We've got 2 hours, and I might give you a little bit of other work that I'd like you to have a look at as well. But the main thing is assignment work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? All right. Any other questions? Is anyone feeling like they haven't got enough information on the exam? Please. I want to know. Madam.
So it's not going to be different after this, like you told us today.
There's not going to be anything different than what I've told you today. I can't make it any different. Yeah?
What's
That's
the number
okay.
one thing we need to come away with? Like,
Number one
a
thing?
few things.
The number one thing?
Yeah.
Okay. 2 parts to the exam. Answer all the questions. If you don't answer the questions, I can't give you marks.
Yeah.
I think you're a great class. If I'm honest with you, I think you're a really, really good class. You've done some brilliant work, and I've been very, very happy with the stuff that you've done this year and in the first year.
Thank you.
You know, I really do. You should be able to get good marks on your exam. Where people let themselves down a little bit with their coursework, in truth, is basically your English isn't great. You know, you didn't write enough. But most of the assignments were still okay. No one failed, if you see what I mean. Most people got a B. Some people got an A. They did very good pieces of work.
Thank you.
Yeah? Some people did okay. They did reasonable pieces of work that I liked. Yeah? But all of you have done a really good job. You've all listened. I hope you've got something out of these lectures. Okay? So remember what I said about exams. Look at previous exam papers. You've got 5.5 chapters to look at. Go through them in detail. I've red flagged a load of stuff that's important. Yeah?
This is the first business computing exam though, isn't it? For final year.
No. It's
No, 'cause-
e-commerce.
No, sorry. E-commerce, sorry. Yeah.
E-commerce.
Was that done in computing?
Wasn't done last year, but for years before that.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Just a slightly different format. All the exams have got a different format. Any other questions? Right, I'm going to let you guys go. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
James, I'll upload this and send the link to you.